Hey everybody, happy Monday, feliz lunes, feliz segunda-feira. I hope everyone had a great weekend, had some time to spend with your family, friends, loved ones, all that kind of stuff. Maybe get some working out done, maybe get some work around the house done, whatever you want to get done. Hope you're able to get it done. All right, so yeah, it's Monday. And so what did I do today? Well, did kind of the usual, right? I did some deadlifts, but I did switch one thing up last week and I kind of stuck with it. So I did my deadlifts, trap bar deadlifts, just in the heels, the 3/4 inch Olympic lifting shoes. And 5 sets of 5 at 300, good enough. Then I went and I did the, again, like the Hatfield split squats with the safety squat bar, whatever you want to call it, kind of deal. Trying to get some unilateral work done. And that went a lot better today, surprisingly. I was just kind of expecting to go in and maybe do the bar some more and get the technique nailed down, but was able to do just the bar. Then I put the dimes on each side and that went pretty well. So I went up and I did 3 sets at 95 by 5, 5 on each leg. And yeah, surprised. I was pretty shocked that that went down pretty well. I'll progress it slowly and we'll see how it goes. But again, happy with that. Then after that, again, kind of the warm down I did last week. This week with the 24 kilogram kettlebell, just 1 set of 10, nice and slow on the Bosu ball, some goblet squats, and that was it. It's good enough. So yeah, it was a good Monday. Good Monday here in the Flab Lab. All right, so what I want to talk about today, I want to talk about, this is going to be about as political as I'm going to get, because I don't think talking politics in specific is really all that useful. But it's just something that, I think about every once in a while, and, it's kind of how I adjudicate things. So a little bit of background on me, right? I'm an only child. So I was the only kid around the house growing up. And when I was growing up, my mom was disabled. So she was in a wheelchair when I was growing up. And my father was working 50 and 60-hour weeks. So I had to pitch in, right? I was doing work around the house. I was vacuuming, I was dusting, and I was doing yard work as well. I was mowing when I was 7 years old. And this is before we even had something to pick up, lawn clippings. I had to rake stuff into piles and put it into one big pile over by the shed and all kinds of redneckish kind of things in the middle of nowhere, Florida. And yeah, that's just kind of how I grew up. I grew up doing work, along with just being a kid and along with, trying to do pretty well in my studies. And so even all through high school, still doing work, cleaning up other people's houses, all kinds of stuff on occasion. So I just got used to the idea. The physical labor was part of being me, right? That was one of the things that I was supposed to do, I guess. So, I just kind of stuck with me, right? So I went to college, got my first degree, and whatever. Then I was out working in the electrical wholesale industry. And I remember really, really clearly still. I was on a job site and I was working in these trailers and I had to load inventory in and out, yada, 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 nothing all that interesting. But, I was handing off to electricians and these guys would go install it, right? I was working at this power plant that they were building at the time. And one time I got called into this meeting, like my boss, who was like the sales guy, and then, some other people. And then there was just this one guy who was like, I don't know what his job was, but he was like he's just like an accountant type. Don't know what he did. But he had these really spindly arms. He had really spindly arms and he had like a big beer belly. And it was a guy who was talking about other people doing work, but I could tell he'd never done any work in his life. And for some reason that didn't sit well with me. Because when you're doing labor, you learn very quickly how to fail. And you also learn how to succeed. So you learn like how physical labor is going to wear you down, but then also, coming back and paying attention and learning from your mistakes and keep working on that project you're working on, making things better. and investing time in the how those things pay off. So, in my own opinion, there's a lot to be learned in moving around and doing things. Part of the reason why I still do this working out stuff. I'm learning all the time, doing something to keep my muscles kind of working, and it's just relaxing in a lot of ways at this point in time for me. And I still do yard work. I do my own yard and that kind of stuff. And I try and tinker around the house and fix things when I can. And I still hire people and when I know that it's beyond my skill level. But I know the importance of doing labor. And I know the importance of being useful. So in this day and age, when we're out here, we're interacting with people or we're just adjudicating people whether or not we think they're fit to serve, as in terms of like leaders and politicians and things like that. One of the ways that I kind of rack and stack my opinion is kind of going back and like, what did they do for their life? Were they in any sort of position where did they have to do labor? Did they learn the value of hard work? Did they serve in the military? Did they do something that made them a useful person? That made them work hard? That made them learn by mistakes? And that usually means a lot to me. So when I see a lot of people out there now, and quite a few of them I don't think have ever done any hard work. Quite a few of them I don't think understand what it is to really serve. And quite a few of them just don't understand what it is to be useful. I have a tough time with them making decisions that are very, in some cases, very much life or death about other folks. And so it's one of those situations where now we're in where it's like, well, hopefully we can learn from this experience, as it were. And hopefully we start to think a little bit more critically about, who we're choosing at every level out there, at every level. And even within some of the small organizations that aren't maybe political organizations, like how do we adjudicate people and their value to an organization? It's got to be put in context of what did they do prior? How do they value effort? How do they value time? How do they value dedication? Because those things are going to become important when you need to grind, when the hard things happen and you want to succeed. Those are the qualities that you're looking for. And you're going to have to frame that in your own perspective as well. Like my life is different than other people's lives. I kind of gave you a little bit of backstory on me. I don't expect everyone else to have that same life growing up, but hopefully you got some sort of perspective to frame like, hey, how am I going to adjudicate this person as someone who can go out there and really, roll up their sleeves and work hard when it needs to be done. And sometimes, of course, that's not physical work, but do they have the perseverance? Do they have the dedication? Do they have the mentality to do this thing? And so I've applied that generously in a lot of my decision making over my career and my personal life, and I think I've done pretty well. I think I have good relationships. I think I have good friends. I think I have a good job, and I'm doing pretty well. And a lot of it's because of the framework that I use to make decisions about people that I'm going to interact professionally with, who I want to have do work around my house even, who I think I can trust doing these kinds of things. And so it's important to me to think critically about these things and put it into a framework that I can understand, that allows me to kind of adjudicate qualities that I want to distill in the decision-making process. So again, that's about as political as I'm going to get. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, why to vote for them, or that kind of stuff. But what I would hope that people can do is come up with a process, again, based on their own experience. When did you have to do something hard? When did you learn a valuable lesson? What were the things that got you there? And when you start to think about things that way, then think, do I think that these other people that I've got to choose from understand those things? Have they demonstrated the ability to do so? Do they have evidence in their past goings on that illuminate those facts that would say, yes, this person is going to be successful at doing the job? And if no, vote accordingly. choose accordingly. So that's where I'm kind of at. And that's why I do put a lot of value in people who put in a lot of effort in something in life. It doesn't need to be working out. It could be, woodworking. It could be painting. It could be anything. But if they learn a hard lesson and they've perfected a skill, or they've gotten a lot better because they continue to be diligent, that's important. And it's important in the weight room. So anyhow, that's enough about that. I hope everyone had a great Monday. My Monday was all right. Worked for about 10 and a half hours. Then I came home and worked out in jeans because I was too lazy to change. But on the whole, things are good. All right. So with that, happy Monday. Feliz lunes. Feliz segunda-feira. Espero que você tenha ótimo dia. Hope you have a great day. Until next time, don't forget, get into those gyms, hit those goals, and get swole. Peace.
And I think it all comes from their the phrase ideas about masculinity, which are the output of their just deep instincts. They clearly are the deepest of good men, and we're all paying for us.
Yeah, we should say that Pete Hegg said that he was accused by raping her, that in response, he denied it in response to
On a small thing, that should make us feel good about what's going on.
Well, with that, let's conclude this. We'll continue in the future our conversation. I want to thank Mary Trump for participating in the Court of History. This session is adjourned. Please subscribe to the this podcast wherever you get podcasts. And given the urgency of the crisis that we're in, one small act of civic education can be